Good afternoon, Santa Clarita, and everyone else streaming around the world. You're listening to the Unreality Show. I'm your host, Alex Urbina, and joining me in studio are my two co-hosts, Jerry Cerati Goldman and Ellen Tunick. Good afternoon, ladies. How are you?
Good afternoon.
We're great.
So you're listening to the Unreality Show, where we talk about all the dysfunctional behaviors that happen in reality shows and all the different reality superstars. We get to talk about how they show up in the shows and some of the quirky things they do and all the major insecurities that come up, and we get to learn from that. We get to talk about some of those subjects and have them be mirrors for us in our own life, and how we can learn and how we can kind of just see a reality show and have it be educational for ourselves so that we can take ourselves to the next level. And today's show, we're talking about the Bachelorette. What do you guys think about the Bachelorette? What's your thoughts on the Bachelorette?
I actually had fun watching that show last night. It was a 2-hour segment, and I couldn't believe most of it. I was amazed at so much of it. It's like, how do you fall in love on TV in 10 minutes? And yet, at the same time, Rachel, who's the Bachelorette, was, I thought, very authentic. I thought she was very open, highly intelligent. And then I'm thinking, who does that? And then I'm looking at this group of men, okay? They were like a bunch of ladies. They were creating drama. It could have been the Housewives, one of the Housewives show. That's how dramatic these guys are. They're falling in love the minute they walk into the house. I mean, it's all a little bit unreal.
I think that they get paid no matter what. I mean, she's probably getting a very hefty salary, and I believe that each one of the men get paid, and I bet you the producers purposely choose some very colorful people, knowing that they're going to bring different flavors to the show.
Absolutely. And I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what I watched when I turned it on, because it's a new show for me. So I was watching it just coming, right off the street and watching what was going on. So I want to kind of break down a little bit about what I saw, and we kind of maybe go section to section. So what I saw in the very beginning of this, I think it was the second show.
The one last night?
It was the second series, or it was the second part.
The first one is when they come out of the limousine and they introduce themselves to
Rachel.
Rachel.
And so what I was watching was a group of guys all trying to get some time with her.
Correct.
Whether it was 3 minutes or 8 minutes, and there's like 30 guys. And so what I watched was a bunch of prima donnas standing around complaining about not being able to get time with her, and I saw a handful of them in their head wondering how to, when was the right move to go, excuse the other guy, and there was all this strategy and gameplay that was going on. I also saw other guys that were intimidating each other. It was like gameplay. There was like a psychological gameplay that was going on because, over in the corner is another guy that's dropping these seeds with one of the other contestants. Like, oh, you're not going to be able to get in. A little bit
like Survivor.
Yeah. It was like little tactical moves that was happening, all psychological, to see who was going to get the upper hand. To me, I saw a bunch of egos in the room that were all trying to fight for position to be able to sit down and just have a few minutes with her.
Well, and then when they actually, when you sit down with her, how do you show up in that moment when when you're on TV, you're trying to be the one. How do you make a connection with a camera shoved in your face? And yet, I thought they tried really hard to make that connection with her. She was trying really hard to receive that connection. But again, the unreality of falling in love in front of a camera was a really interesting thing to me. But the guys, I laughed. I really had to laugh at these dudes. I've never seen a group of so-called men in a room being like little girls almost.
I think you hit some very powerful points. One you said is, how do you make a connection on camera? For me, you either make a connection or you don't.
It doesn't matter if the camera's there or it's not.
That's right. And you can't force a connection, which a lot of them were trying to do. I don't know if they were doing it consciously, but they were trying to make some kind of a connection. And for me, when it comes to love, you either connect or you don't. And it doesn't matter, out of that room, there's probably going to be maybe 6 or 7 guys out of 30 that she really has somewhat of a connection with. And the rest of them are just going along for the ride and the next journey. And as you saw at the end, they show you basically clips of the whole season, which gets you hooked because you see the arguments and the fights and all the stuff behind the scene and ambulance showing up. They really know how to sell this show with over dramatizing every scene.
Do you think that one of the issues is that they're going in and because they have such a short window of time that they're not even being authentic and they're not even being present because they're so worried about, how I'm going to knock this guy out, how I'm going to knock that guy out?
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's, it reminded me of Survivor, and I don't watch Survivor a lot, but I watch it enough to know that this is a game of strategy. And the strategy means you do whatever is needed to win.
Whatever it takes.
Only if you're egocentric. If you're unconscious and your ego is running you, you're going to play that game called let's strategize, let's figure out how to outmaneuver each other. If you're not egocentric and you're more spirit driven and you're more conscious, you're not worried about all the other guys. You're there just trying to make an authentic connection with the girl to see if you guys have that match. If there's spark and there's a connection, you're gonna kind of fan that flame. But I think when you got all those egos in there, it is like trying to figure out how to outmaneuver each other.
So I wonder if they get paid to stay to the more episodes they make. If that's an incentive.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know how it works, but I would probably guess
that would make sense.
Yeah,
so they're juggling between being great for the camera and causing some type of drama and making an impression with her at the same time. They're juggling a lot. Now, if you were to go in and coach them beforehand, what would you say to them? I
don't know if I would be able to coach them because I'm coaching people to access their own power and be authentic and be, loving. And like, it depends on what the intention was. If the directors asked me to come in and coach them to be more dramatic, then and I chose that, then I would have to coach them on being dramatic. So I don't know how the dynamics work behind the scenes. If they got directors kind of in their ear, kind of egging them on. That's what I would assume is that, because I've worked with groups before, leadership groups, and all the coaches, if there's 4 or 5 coaches working with a big group, we're in their ear. Like a little bit like behind the scenes, we're kind of just dropping these little seeds. So I can see producers and co-producers around these guys kind of egging them on without them really realizing it and kind of causing the fiasco and all the drama in the whole series.
So my question is, what man goes on a show like this?
I think you're looking at actors. You're looking at people that just...
Well, Mr. Waboom is certainly...
Yeah.
And, trying to get his Waboom out there.
Yeah, for sure. It's obvious that he just wants to be a part of something bigger than himself. I think a lot of people, when they seek these shows, they want to be a part of something big. They want to... today's the kind of world that we live in is we want to be, Instagram famous, or we want to be YouTube famous.
3 minutes of fame.
Yeah, we just want to get out there and be a celebrity. People want to be noticed and be recognized.
People want to be celebrities.
So out of the professional guys, where they're like doctors and attorneys?
Yes, there are doctors, there's attorneys. You have one, you have a chiropractor, you have an emergency room doctor, you have a litigator, you have a prosecutor. She's an attorney. The Bachelorette. And
she must be offered, I would imagine,
well,
quite
she
a bit
came
of money.
from
money.
Bachelor, The Bachelor.
Oh, okay.
And she was like one of the final contestants on The Bachelor. And interestingly, everybody fell in love with Rachel. Rachel became the celebrity, not the person that actually ended up with the man.
Yeah, the producer of the show, they're smart. They watch other shows and they're looking for that one personality that is attractive and it just has, you know, there are people that have something about them that their energy is it's attractive, and they
a lot of
they
charisma.
spotted something in her. They said one day we're going to get her and we're going to bring her back. And
she's a natural.
a bachelorette.
A natural on
air.
TV. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, have you done this before? I mean, that's how good she is.
So I imagine she's in the courtroom too.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what type of an attorney she is, but that was the other thing that struck me was she's just really good at being in front of the camera.
Well, she's been there before. She's very comfortable, and I think she's very comfortable in her own skin, and she just knows what she wants and what she's looking for. She's excited for, I guess, a new relationship and hopefully to find someone that she can fall in love with and live happily ever after. I think that's what she's committed to.
So, Alex, where do these men learn the little tactics of going at each other? Is that on the football field, on the baseball field? Where are we teaching them to,
strategize like this
and stick it to the one next to them?
I think that starts at school and on the playgrounds.
Yeah.
When you're little.
That's a good point.
Yeah, when you're little, you learn how to survive, so to speak. You have other kids around you that if you're not standing out, you're going to be picked on. You're going to be made fun of. It's that whole insecurity thing, so that no one makes fun of me. I got to make fun of someone else. So it really starts young on the playgrounds at school, where you have to be sharp and you got to learn how to kind of take these verbal stabs at each other.
Not be the subject of a bully.
Yeah, and so you just learn that growing up, and then it transitions into on the baseball team, on the football team. You just kind of move into different circles where you just keep that ball rolling like that. And now you got full-grown men in their mid-20s, early 30s that still
are doing that and going to pass it on to their kids. How sad is that?
I don't know if it's sad. I would love to see it. Maybe some of it's good. I mean, some of it is how we make our way through life. We have to figure out how to be strong, how to be ourselves.
Yeah, like you had some of them that were on the camera as individual shots. They were talking about, some of them had their own self-talk, like, I got this. And, so they were kind of pumping themselves up a little bit. And we all do that at some point. But you're on
a little bit of survival.
You're on camera now saying to the world, like, I got this. Yeah, you're trying to build yourself up.
What you were taught. I mean, when you started playing on the playground as a girl, we do the same thing in a different way. It comes out differently, but we actually do the same thing. It's like, oh, do you like Sarah? I don't like Sarah, and
what's interesting is I see this now with a lot of my girlfriends' kids. The mean girl. I did not have that. I was more of a tomboy. So I was out playing on the baseball field. Back then there was no soccer, but
otherwise you'd be playing.
I'd probably be playing soccer, but we were always active on, we were out playing. I wasn't part of the little girls that were,
the cliques.
And that's what they were called. They were the clique. When I talk to my granddaughter, who's 14 going into high school, she literally says, well, the popular group at lunch sits in one place, and the kind of popular group sits over there. And then the guys that, the kids that, are nerds and blah, blah, they sit over there. So they actually have identified areas within the same space of where you go and how you're identified.
And what you just described to me is prison, because prison's set up like that.
Wow.
When you walk into prison, it's you got to decide
what cell block you're in.
Well, which group you're going to choose. You have to claim a gang. You got to claim a set. You got to come in and decide who you're going to be with, because it's segregated in there. You guys got to look after each other, and that's what's sad is because if that's our school,
you create alliances.
we're unconsciously have been doing that since we were kids,
and that's it. So, kind of on the show, that's what they're doing as well. The guys are creating alliances with certain other guys.
Well, I don't know if it's happening right now. This is the very first episode.
Well, there were two guys talking, and obviously they're both pounding their chest and saying it's going to be me, it's going to be me. And so they said, well, let's make a pact. If I get her, you'll be my best man, and if you get her, you know. So they were already talking about.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, I remember.
Who would want to pick their best man because
if they
help them get to.
But if they're getting paid to stay till the end,
yeah, no, I get it.
Getting paid to be part of it, and getting paid. I believe that one of the first Bachelor and Bachelorette was the Bachelorette, Tristan, and
they're still married.
They're
with
still
kids.
married. They were also on the show. I saw an advertisement. They were on the show When Your Marriage Is in Trouble, whatever marriage boot camp.
Marriage boot camp.
So just saying, but they also were paid by ABC. ABC paid for their wedding.
Correct.
So the show still goes on, and who knows?
Well, because they could still be marketable. Think about it. If you're still together, you give credibility to the show, and you're going to get. Who knows? How do you know they're not getting paid to stay together to make it work? Like, you guys figure out how to make it work, and every year you get a certain bonus because maybe at some point we want to bring you back, or who knows what strategy?
Very well could be possible.
Who knows what the
strategy? So when young people watch The Bachelorette and they're looking for love, how does that translate to the average Joe on the street